Live stream. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. So we'll be studying from Srimad Bhagavatam today, or trying to discuss the at least. From the first canto, chapter number 11, verse number 33. Let me share my screen. Okay, so let me know if you can see or when you can see.
Yes, Prabhu, we can see.
Okay. So I'll read the verse thrice, and then whoever wishes to repeat, please do so. यद्यप्यसौ पार्श्वरहो रहो गतस्तथापि तस्याङ्गयुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाचलापि यक्षीर्न जहाति कर्हिचित् यद्यप्यसौ पार्श्वरहो यद्यप्यसौ पार्श्वगतो रहो गतस्तथापि तस्याङ्गयुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाचलापि यक्षीर्न जहाति कर्हिचित् यद्यप्यसौ पार्श्वगतो रहो गतस्तथापि तस्याङ्घ्रियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाचलापि यक्षीर्न जहाति कर्हिचित्. I'd like to recite.
Prabhuji, could you make it little bigger? Yeah, I can't
Yes,
see
sorry.
it. Yajyapyasau parsvagato raho gatastatapi tasyangriyugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tatpadascha chalapi yashvir na jahati karhichit. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much.
यद्यापि असौ पार्श्वगतो रहो गतस्तथापि तस्याङ्घ्रियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाचलापि यच्छ्रीर्न जहाति कर्हिचित्.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Let's like to say.
Yadapi asau parsvagata raha. I'm sorry. Yadapi asau parsvagata raha kata. Tadapi tasya nigri yugam navam navam. Pade pade ka virmete tatpadat. Chalapi yat shrina jahati karchet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay. Anyone else to recite?
यदापि असौ पर्वशागतो रहो गतास् तथापि तस्य गिरियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे कवरमेत तत्पदात् चलापि यक्षिर्न जहति कर्हिचित्.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. Okay. So we'll go ahead and read the synonyms, translation, and purport. Synonyms: yadi, although; api, certainly; asau, he, Lord Shri Krishna; parshva gataha, just by the side; raha gataha, exclusively alone; tathapi, still; tasya, his; angri yugam, the feet of the Lord; navam, navam, newer and newer; pade, step; pade, in every step; ka, who; virameta, can be detached from; tat padat, from his feet; chalapi, moving; yat, whom; Shri, the goddess of fortune; na, never; jahati, quits; karhichit, at any time. Translation and put by His Divine Grace, Apayachanarvinda Bhakti Vishnu Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although Lord Shri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? Purport. Conditioned living beings are always after the favor of the goddess of fortune. Although by nature she is moving from one place to another. In the material world, no one is permanently fortunate, however clever one may be. There There have been so many big empires in different parts of the world. There have been so many powerful kings all over the world. And there have been so many fortunate men. But all of them have been liquidated gradually. This is a law of material nature. But spiritually, it is different. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord is served very respectfully by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. They are always in a lonely place also with the Lord. But still, the association of the Lord is so inspiringly newer and newer that they cannot quit the Lord for a moment, even though they are by nature very restless and are moving about. The spiritual relation with the Lord is so enlivening and resourceful that no one can leave the opportunity to leave the company of the Lord once having taken shelter of Him. The living beings are by constitution feminine by nature. The male or enjoyer is the Lord, and all manifestations of his different potencies are feminine by nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings are designated as para prakriti, or the superior potency. The material elements are apara prakriti, or inferior potency. Such potencies are always employed for the satisfaction of the employer or the enjoyer. The supreme enjoyer is the Lord himself, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 5.29. The potencies, therefore, when engaged directly in the service of the Lord, revive the natural color, and thus there is no disparity in the relation of the potent and potency. Generally, people engaged in service are always seeking some post under the government or the supreme enjoyer of the state. Since the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of everything in or outside the universe, it is happiness to be employed by him. Once engaged in the supreme governmental service of the Lord, no living being wishes to be relieved from their engagement. The highest perfection of human life is to seek some employment under the Lord's supreme service. That will make one extremely happy. One need not seek the moving goddess of fortune without the relation of the Lord. Okay, I'll read the verse once again and then we can discuss. Yajyapiso pashvagato raho gatas tathapi tasyangi yugam navam pate pade ka virameda tat pada chalapi yakshri ranjahati karhichet. Although Lord Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? Jai. So thank you so much again, everyone, for joining for the Sunday morning Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. So we're reading the section where Lord Shri Krishna is entering Dwarka, and Krishna has entered Dwarka already, and initial descriptions where that so many different descriptions of so many different festivities were given. All the festoons, all the decorations, all the water pots, so many things were described, or rather how Dwarka was decorated when they came to know that Krishna is arriving very soon. And then the Lord entered Dwarka and he met his father, he met his mothers, and they all embraced Krishna. They embraced each other, and in reciprocating, like that way, they Krishna finally entered the palaces of his queens a few verses ago. Now we understand that Krishna expanded himself into 16,108 forms, simultaneously entering into each of the palaces. And already the devotees previously gave very wonderful description of how the queens, how Krishna married those queens, and so many descriptions already been given, right? So now, in the last couple of verses, we are seeing the love of the queens of Lord Krishna in Dwarka, between the queens and Krishna. And what is the nature of the love? And we saw that as soon as Krishna entered, I think this couple of verses ago, as soon as Krishna entered, the queens were extremely joyful and they were ecstasy, and at the same time they were very shy, bashfulness, and they embraced Krishna with their eyes. They want to embrace him physically, but they held back themselves, and they want to embrace Krishna in their mind, but still they're so shy, right? So they embraced Krishna. They took Krishna, the soul itself, close to them, and then embraced Krishna, right? Internally, but externally, the way it manifested was they sent their sons. Krishna had 10 sons and 1 daughter from each queen, right? So they sent their sons for being embraced by Krishna. And when Krishna embraced their sons, they also experienced that affection of Krishna. So now, who are these queens? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila, one of my favorite chapters, the 4th chapter of Adilila, the controversial reasons for Mahaprabhu's appearance. There's a series of verses where Kaviraj Goswami explains or reveals the identity of these queens, not just queens, but rather the queens of Dwarka, the goddess of fortune, and the Brajagopis. He reveals the identity of those, of all the three. This Krishna Kanta Gona Dekhi Trividha Prakar, Eka Lakshmi Gona Pure Maheshi Gona Ar, Prajangana Rupa Ar Kanta Gona Sar, Shri Radhika Haite Kanta Gonera Vistar, Vaibhava Gona Yena Tandra Anga Vibhuti, Bimba Prati Bimba Rupa Mahesha Ratati. It says, the beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of 3 kinds: the goddesses of fortune, the queens, and the milkmaids of Braja, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. Shri Radhika Hoite Kanta Ganera Vistar. Okay. Second. Okay. And then the next verse says, the goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. Just very simple reflections of her image. But the Brajadevis, the gopis, are diverse bodily expansions of Srimati Radharani, and the expansions are for expanding the rasa. Basically, the queens of Dwarka are reflections of Srimati Radharani. Right? We see that in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, they give it, the material world is described as Urdha Mulam Adha Shakham Ashwatam Pravravyaham. Right? It's like upside down tree. That is the analogy given by Krishna of this material world. So, I've heard this before as well, but just like reflection, what appears to be the topmost in the original tree appears to be the lowermost in the reflection. If you see a reflection on the water, the topmost apex of the tree is the bottommost, if you see, because the reflection, exact opposite. So the topmost relationship in the spiritual world is what? The conjugal love between Krishna and his devotees. And that too, especially Shri Radhika and Krishna in the Paragyaras. And that topmost relationship in the spiritual world, that is the topmost relation in the spiritual world. Whereas the material world, because it's a perverted reflection, it's not just a reflection, it's a perverted reflection because the reflective surface is desire. Right? There, the desire is to serve Krishna for his pleasure. Here, the desire is to serve ourselves for our pleasure. It's a perverted reflection, right? And although the emotion is very strong, that perverted reflection, with the reflection, the emotion is very strong. When it's expressed in this world, it's seen as like sex, right? Or lust. So that is very strong emotion. So the conjugal relation is, which is pure love in the spiritual world, is perverted as mundane sex in the material world. The pure unalloyed love as parakya in the spiritual world is the most degraded in the material world. Having outside marriage and having an affair outside marriage is considered to be one of the worst, right? So that is the polar opposite of the material world and spiritual world. In fact, there's a very beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada regarding this particular topic in 1.1.1. In the purport to the first verse of the first chapter of the first canto. The very last, Prabhupada says, Shri Vishwan Chakri Thakur specifically deals with the original pure sex psychology, divine of all mundane inner variety. Very beautiful purport. Please, I won't read the entire thing because of lack of time. a very, very beautiful description, which pertains to the particular topic which is talked about. So there are two strong emotions in the world, and they're like sides of the same coin. One is love and this hatred. They're two very strong emotions. And when this hatred, this usually violence, it can be from words, of physical violence, right? It's a mental violence. So, but this love and this hatred. And so therefore in the material world, you see a lot of emphasis is given to sex and violence. That's what we see. I think recently, but when what you were in his class are talking about, is there a game which is developed in which we can do something good for others? Or what is the point of a mission in the game? Or do something good for others? No, it's all sex and violence. Grand Theft Auto, GTA, just smash things. You can do whatever you want. You can't do all the things in reality. So take everything out in a game, whatever you want, right? So sex and violence. So these two verses, the verse for today and the next verse rather, right? So today's verse we're going to talk about the love aspect, and the next verse we're talking something about the violence aspect. We'll see when next week. So what needs to be understood is that the nature of spiritual love is different from mundane attraction. That's one of the basic things when we at least come in Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, especially. It's Mahaprabhu has very, very beautifully explained through by himself and through his disciples. The nature of spiritual love is different from mundane attraction. Even though external may seem the same, but the mood in which is done is totally, absolutely different. Right? The Mahalakshmi has two components. She has spiritual component and material component in the sense that she's not material, but the way she plays a role, she has a role in the spiritual world as the precious potency of Krishna, of the Lord, and the material world, she plays as the goddess of fortune. Lakshmi Devi is the right. Lakshmi Devi, Dhanna Sampatti Ave, Lakshmi. Right? So people are running after, in the material world, are running after Lakshmi Devi. Right? And because Lakshmi Devi, or the name of Lakshmi Devi is Chanchala. And Chanchala means, Chanchala is usually attributed to kids or children. Children are very Chanchala because they cannot stay in one place. They want to keep moving, they want to play, right? You cannot make them sit at one place for a long time. Similarly, Mother Lakshmi, she cannot stay at one place for a long time. It is Chanchala, constantly moving, right? So, how do we understand that anything that we see or anything that we consider as fortune, right? So we should consider anything that moves, or if you consider anything as a fortune, it's the source is Mother Lakshmi. Now, fortune doesn't mean only money in that sense. Fortune means good health, right? The Shri is called as opulence. Opulence can mean good health, money, anything, or good family situation, success in a project, business, whatever it is. It's all considered part of fortune, opulence. And they all come from Mother Lakshmi. Now, in practical sense, so everyone is seeking the orders of fortune. And Prabhupada gives a contrast in the purport. If you see here, Prabhupada says that there are many big empires in different parts of the world. Many powerful kings, many powerful men, but all of them have been liquidated gradually. They all come to existence. But in the course of time, they all got destroyed. And that one cannot remain fortunate all the time. So I may be fortunate today, and by in due course of time, my fortune will be taken away. So Lakshmi Devi is the goddess of fortune, yes. And from the observation of the world, we can understand that fortune, you cannot hold fortune for oneself for a long time. Yes, she comes and she goes. Right? It will be there one day, next day, it won't be present. We will be beautiful one day. In the youth, we'll be very beautiful. As time goes on, beauty will fade. It will go. We are famous at one point of time, and later, because we are not beautiful, or we are not attractive enough, we are not good enough for the masses, so to say, we want something new. We'll be gone from the memory, right? We are not so famous anymore. So anyone who's holding on to goddess of fortune won't become happy. Right? She cannot become happy because she isn't at one place. Right? Another example is Ravana. Right? He was holding Mother Sita. He was completely obsessed with her, and he was holding Mother Sita. And two things: she was personification, she was goddess of fortune, and he did not recognize. Ravana did not recognize that Lord Ramchandra is the supreme personality of Godhead. So what was the result? What was the result? It was so opulent. Lanka was entire city was made in gold, so to say. Right? The whole city was built with gold. And Pushpaka Viman, he pleased Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, got so many boons. But what happened at the end? Miserable death. Right? So if somebody is enamored by the gods of fortune alone, the person is not going to be happy in this world. And Sita Devi, being Lakshmi Devi herself, goddess of fortune, was a cause of misfortune to Ravana. So fortune acquired illegally will cause misfortune, right? And of course, even if you acquire fortune in a legal way, it's bound to get lost. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, chapter number 8, which verse number 15, states that no matter how carefully one hides his hard-earned wealth or tries to protect it, there are those who are expert in detecting the whereabouts of valuable things, and they will steal it. Bhagavatam states. In Shiva Bhagavatam 11th canto, chapter number 3, verse number 19 states, wealth is a perpetual source of distress. It is most difficult to acquire, and it is virtual death for the soul. Right? So being wealthy may be good at one point of time, but a source of distress for those who have more, those who don't have, because of distress, those who have okay, before they're taken away. So at any point of time, whatever wealth we have will be taken away. But the same goddess of fortune, he cannot stay in one place in the material world. In the spiritual world, she is something different. Her nature is totally different. She cannot leave for a moment in the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? He is so attractive, the Lord is so attractive that she cannot give up. Although Lakshmi Devi is chanchala. When it comes to spiritual world, she cannot live. And how is happening? How does it happen? This is against her nature, right? If something's against our nature and we're still not doing that, that means there's something holding us back really strong. Something's really strong is holding us back. And what is that? Right? And the reason that Mother Lakshmi is not able to is not chanchala, is achala. Here, achala is what is given here. The Syangri Yugam Navam Navam. Angri Yugam. Angri means lotus feet. Yugam means two. Big Yugala Kishore, we say, right? Couple. Angri Yugam, the pair of lotus feet. And it's Navam Navam. Krishna's lotus feet seem to be newer and newer. Now they get different class itself on the lotus feet of the Krishna, how it's new and new. Right? We'll go into it a little bit and then come back to our discussion again. So now, we all have this experience that when we get anything new, or when we're about to get something new, there's an anticipation. Oh, yeah, something new we'll get. New clothes, new toys, or new car, or new house, or new gadget, or new iPhone, whatever it is. We're looking so forward to it. New, right? And then cars, some people are fond of changing cars. They lease the cars specifically so that they can change cars every 3 years. Something new, right? And some people nowadays going to Tesla because they're ditching the gasoline cars and stuff, right? So basically, this always some anticipation, eagerness for something new. But the thing is, because the law of material world, anything new will become old. There's creation, there's maintenance, and there's annihilation. Anything in the world, right? For this body, for any material thing. But when it is new, there's some attraction, but it won't remain all the new all the time, right? But for Krishna, it is said that he's ever fresh, ever fresh. And for the goddess of fortune, the queens, they are there with Krishna. So here, what is being talked about? That, you know, when we are with someone for a long period of time, right? Initially, the anticipation, oh, I'm going to be with the person I love. Yes. And if we're continuously seeing each other for a long time, we become, you know, not disgusted, but becomes tired of looking at them. Come on, not the same face again. Oh man, right? Becomes familiarity beats contempt, in something similar like that, right? We're so used to seeing that, we say, can I get something new? I always see your face. I want to change. I'm going somewhere else. Right? We become so used to the other person, we take them for granted, or we're tired of seeing the same face or doing the same thing. We want a different change in routine, right? We can't do the same thing again and again. That is not our nature. We want something different, right? We want something different. But here is mentioned that if you see the word here, raho gatas, parshva raho. Parshva means, staying close by, and raho means even more. It gets this one step more. Raho means rahasya, a seclusion, right? So not just side by the side, but in a secluded place, exclusively alone. So the queens of Dwarka, they had a chance, or they were always by Krishna's side, and not just in front of the audience, but exclusively with Krishna. Alone, time, intimate space. And there, Tathapi Tasyangi Yugam Navam Navam, they were serving Krishna very intimately. But what happened? They felt every time they were serving Krishna, it's something new. Not, we're doing the same thing, serving Krishna every day, getting bored of saying Krishna. No. Tasyangi Yugam Navam Navam. The feeling, the newness every time. It's not even every day. No. Padam Pade, Pade Pade. Each and every step. For each and every moment when they're serving Krishna, they're feeling something new, or they're experiencing new rasa, relishing the newness about Krishna. And then comes the Kavirameda. We'll talk about that. So Pade Pade. If you see in the previous verse, let me just open this. In the previous verse, next two verses, few verses before, there's something very similar. Yes, if you see text in 25, Nityam Nirikshamananam Yatapi Dwara Kaukasam Natavitripyanti Hitasha Shriyo Dhamangam Achyutam. The inhabitants of Dwarka were regularly accustomed to look upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satiated. Same thing. When we look at something again and again, we're like, we're so bored, tired. But they're saying here that they're so accustomed to looking at Krishna all the time. Krishna's there, right? He was for 11.5 years, right? That's it. And then after maybe 3 or 4 years with Mathura, after the entire time was in Dwarka, right? They were so accustomed to seeing Krishna, the reservoir of all beauty, yet they were never satiated. And Prabhupada talks about the law of satiation. Yes, right? This no scope, the law of satiation acts materially. Right? We want something new, but there is no scope for it in the spiritual realm, Prabhupada says. Maybe a bit purport. Right? When the ladies of the city of Dwarka got up on the roofs of the palaces, they never thought that they had seen previously many times beautiful form of the infallible Lord. This indicates that they had no satiation and desire to see the Lord. Right? The same thing. They were not satiated by serving the feet of the Lord again and again. They didn't want something new. Kuch naya chahiye. No, nothing like that. They were satisfied and they were experiencing newer and newer taste. Right? So, okay. So now they had exclusive time, Rahogata, okay, with Krishna. And the wonderful thing is that, Krishna's forever freshness is described. If you know the 64 qualities of Krishna mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, one of the qualities, the first 50 qualities mentioned as quality which is common to Jiva, Brahma, Shiva, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, very, very common. The next 5 qualities which are mentioned, which is present partially in Shiva and Brahma, right? And one of the 55, so to say, one of the 51, 55 qualities is mentioned in the Southern Ocean. The first wave was 184, Nitya Nutanaha, Nutan. And this word is Nutan March ki Shushibhavana, we say Hindi mein, right? Nutan March means New Year. Nitya Nutanaha, ever fresh. This is one of the qualities of Krishna. He who astonishes by appearing to be previously unrelished, although he has already been relished with his sweet qualities, is called ever fresh. Right? He who astonishes by appearing to be previously unrelished, as if they never tasted the relationship with Krishna. Although we have tasted the relationship with Krishna, right? Even though we tasted something, but still feels, hey, I never tasted it before, like that. Right? This ever fresh, it's always fresh. And very nicely, when Sri Rupa Goswami mentioned this particular quality of Krishna as a pramana for this particular quality, Sri Rupa Goswami quotes this verse, 1:11:33. He quotes this particular verse as a pramana for that particular quality of Krishna, right? And in the commentary to that, Sri Jiva Goswami mentions the last line of this particular Chala Pijak Shri Rajahati Karhichit. In Lakshmi, there exists both fickleness and steadiness. She is Chala or fickle only in a secondary aspect in material world, but a primary position in spiritual world, right? He is steady in being attached to Lord's feet in her Swarupa aspect. And this illustrates the special greatness of Krishna's sweetness. The sweetness of Krishna is what is keeping her, attached to the feet of Krishna, right? And the beautiful verse Sri Rupa Goswami gives from Lalita Madhava, and the beautiful verse as a pramana for that, right? So he's ever fresh. So not only is Krishna's beauty, his form, his everything related to him is ever fresh, because it's absolute, right? And one of the main things is Mahamantra we chant. We don't sing other mantras, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Too much, man. Let's sing other mantra. We sing Hare Krishna mantra. I mean, we sing it properly, we chant it properly, without doing offenses. We can chant as Sri Rupa Goswami mentions, Tunde Tandavani Bitim Ratim Bitunute Tundavali Labdhaye. I wish I had millions of tongue, vision of ears to relish Krishnati Varnam Doi. This two silver Krishna contains so much rasa, so much nectar. Right? We are fresh. The same mantra is being repeated, and we can taste the sweetness, the freshness every time we chant, if done properly. Right? And there are many other places in Brihad Bhagavatam. There are many places. Of course, in Bhagavatam is also there. In Brihad Bhagavatam, there are many places where the Lord's glories of Lord's lotus feet, or Navam, the newness aspect is mentioned very nicely. Right? It's mentioned that although Lord Vishnu is always one and unchanging at every moment, he brings forth hundreds of newer and newer varieties of transcendental charm, both in himself and in his devotional service. As I mentioned, anything related to Krishna, or anything to Krishna, or anything related to Krishna or any of his activities, or his form, names, or devotional service, anything. Right? He brings forth newer and newer variety of transcendental charm. Vichitra Madhurya Shatam. Navam Navam. Bhagavatamrit, it says. Right? So how can anyone leave Krishna lotus feet? Right? Again, in Bhagavatamrit mentioned that even though the extent of the goddess of good fortune of these residents of Vrindavan is inconceivable, we 11 presiding deities, this is Lord Shiva speaking, we 11 presiding deities of various senses are also most fortunate. Why? Because the senses of these devotees of Vrindavan are the cups through which we repeatedly drink the nectarine intoxicating beverage of the honey of the lotus feet. It's like, so the very beautiful analogy being given. The Vrindavan, the devotees are relishing Krishna to their eyes, seeing Krishna's form, hearing Krishna's flute, and talking about Krishna, touching Krishna, smelling. When you go in, because Krishna has a natural aguru sense, fragrance from his body. When the Krishna goes past them, smelling the senses, smelling beautiful, wonderful scent from Krishna's body. So they are relishing. So their the senses are like cups. And Krishna, this analogy we give many times in Bhagavatam as well. The moon-like face of Krishna. If you see here, it's mentioned here again. Moon-like faces. If I search for, yeah, see here. The Lord's chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. His moon-like face is the drinking vessel for eyes, which hanker for after all that is beautiful. See here, analogy, same analogy given here. The eyes are like the cups, and Krishna's face is like the honey. Honey, right? So they are the cups. They're drinking the nectar or relishing Krishna's beauty, using various senses, right? So the 11 presiding deities of the senses, they can't directly, they're not fortunate enough to directly be associated with Krishna, but they're saying we are as fortunate as the resident of Vrindavan. Why is that? Because we are the presiding deities of senses, and we are drinking that same intoxicating beverage of the lotus feet of Krishna. The Vrindavan-vasi, Brajavasis are drinking by seeing them, Krishna, because they are present Adhishta Devatas, we are getting a chance to drink that. Right? This is the analogy given by Lord Shiva in Bhagavatam. Very beautiful. Right? And again in Bhagavatam it's mentioned, one becomes saintly. Krishna Bhakteva Sadhutvam Sadhunam Paramam Iha. Tatsya Sadhyam Ta Angri Abja, again Angri Abja, Yugalam Paramam Phalam. One becomes saintly only by devotion to Krishna. That is the highest means of spiritual attainment. And what is the goal? And it brings one to the highest goal. What is the goal? Krishna's lotus feet. Angri Navam Navam. Right? So, as I mentioned, Krishna and related to Krishna. My other aspect is Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's own words. Right? Mukha, Mukharavind, the words coming from his Mukha, lotus mouth. It is perhaps the only book spoken 5,000 years ago, which was written 5,000 years ago, and it's still being read, still being studied, still being spoken, even after thousands of years, repeatedly, every day, all over the world. Why? They're doing again and again, again and again. We have heard Mahatma Gandhi, like every time we read Bhagavad Gita, we get newer and newer realizations. What is it? The same book, man. What? It's a living book. That is Krishna book. That is something about Krishna. It's a living book. It's newer and newer. Every time we read, different realization will be a different realization will be revealed to us depending on the mood of the reader. Right? And becomes sweeter and sweeter the more we read Bhagavad Gita. Right? So it's true with Krishna's name, fame, qualities, anything relationship with Krishna. Because Krishna is so attractive, this is ever freshness. Right? So now coming to our situation, that is the relation between Krishna and Mother Lakshmi. Right? So what about the relation between us and Krishna? So Prabhupada explains that living beings are constitution by constitution feminine by nature. We are Prakriti. We may have a body of a male, but we are actually Prakriti. And Prabhupada again mentions in Bhagavad Gita, the living being are designated as Para Prakriti. 7.4, Bhumi Apa Nilavayu Kammano Buddhi Revacha. The material energy is given. And then 7.5, Aparayam itaspanyam. What is mentioned before is apara. Krishna mentions Prakriti vidhi me param. There is something param, higher than this Prakriti. That is what? Jiva bhuta mahabaho. Apara Prakriti and para Prakriti. Apara Prakriti is the inferior material energy, and para Prakriti is the living entity. Is Bahir Shakti and Tatastha Shakti. Shakti basically means it's feminine nature. The Shaktiman is Shakti, simple. Right? Shakti, Shaktiman. Shaktiman is a male enjoyer. One who enjoys, that is Krishna. And Shakti is one to be enjoyed. Right? So we are feminine by nature. The soul is Tatastha Shakti, is feminine by nature. Right? So indeed, the material world is a combination of the material and spiritual energy in the sense of inferior and superior energy. Right? When Krishna is a Purusha, he is an enjoyer and he is supreme male, and therefore all energies are meant to be enjoyed by him. Right? Shakti and Shaktiman. And just by comparing Krishna's relationship with the queens, the enjoyer and the enjoyed, it's not just restricted to Krishna, queens of Dwarka or any energies, any energy of Krishna. In the Upanishad is said, Parasa Shakti Vivadeva Shuyate Subhava Ki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. Parasa Shakti, there's so many different energies of Krishna, and they're all to be employed in Krishna service. So this material world, this material energy, is to be employed in Krishna service. So how do we serve Krishna? By using this material, by using these things in the material world. We use that same thing. We use flowers. We use so many wonderful things, which is material energy, right? We use that in service of Krishna. We give ourselves in service to Krishna. We surrender ourselves to Krishna. We are Tatastha Shakti. We should be employed in Krishna service, and that is the best way of usage. That's the best usage of the energy of Krishna. And by doing that, we can get full satisfaction, complete satisfaction. Right? That is Krishna saying, the Prabhupada is saying here. But such potencies are always employed for the satisfaction of the employer or the enjoyer. Right? The potencies, therefore, when engaged directly in service of the Lord, revive the natural color, and thus there is no disparity in relation. There is no difference in relation between potent and potency. Shakti Madayor Abheda, Chaitanya says. When the potency is being used in service of the potent, then there's no difference. Shakti Matayor Abheda, no difference. Even though this Bheda is no difference, one. Right? So when he enjoys us, that is the perfection of happiness. That is the highest happiness we can get. And it's not just temporary. It's permanent happiness, not going to be taken away like the success of the material world. It's going to be there forever. Right? That is why Prabhupada gives the example of what? Government service. I don't know if it's still the norm, still the notion. Like back quite some time back, there's a notion or there was a understanding that if you get government service, the perfect job. Once you know, especially if you go to State Bank of India, once you get State Bank of India job, you're pretty much there for the entire life. No one can, make you leave, or no one leaves, no one fires anyone unless you did something really, really bad or fraud or something. But it's secure position. Government position is a secure position, unlike private sector. A government job in the government sector is much more fixed. What to say? No, this is achala position, not chanchala position. Achala position. So no fear of layoff and stuff, right? But when we take up government job, stable job, right? And more people they aspire to be employed by a government because it's a stable job. Sri Prabhupada here is saying that supreme government is Krishna, right? So anyone who is employed by the supreme government, Krishna's government, life is very much secure. Don't have to worry about anything, right? Completely satisfied. Highest aspiration. If you're employed by Krishna, be engaged in Krishna service, perfect. There's no other place we can get more happiness. And we say susukham kartavabhyam. Very happy, when you perform devotional service, very happy. And if Prabhupada used to say that if you're not very happy in doing Krishna service, then we are not doing Krishna service. The Krishna service is full of happiness. Just because we are not happy doesn't mean we change the definition. Right? Krishna service is full of happiness. If you're not feeling that happiness, that enjoyment, that relishment, that means you're doing something wrong. And we're not doing properly. So now, the Krishna says he's the proprietor of all planets. Prabhupada says here 5.29. Bhoktaram Yagitapasam. So therefore, everything must be employed in Krishna service. So Lakshmi Devi should be engaged in Krishna service. So we should not just do Lakshmi Puja. We want Lakshmi, Lakshmi, Lakshmi. Dhana ave, Sampatti ave, this ave, wo ave. We want Lakshmi. Narayan, tu wahi rehve. You be there, let Lakshmi come inside. If worship Narayana, Lakshmi will apne aap automatically come, because where is the position of Lakshmi Devi? What is the feet of Krishna, of Narayana? She'll automatically come. She can't go anywhere else, right? And she will be most happy in being employed in Krishna service, right? So in Bhagavatam again, it's mentioned they can always see him in person, Lord Hari, who inspires everyone's pleasure and whose lotus feet are cared for by the goddess of fortune. And then Sadhana Goswami talks about the nature of being cared or being serving lotus feet of Hari. What is that? Their life in his company is pure joy. Ramante sahatena ye, ramante, pure joy. The definition of Rama is Ramante yogino nante satyananda chidatmani iti Rama pade nasho param brahma vidhiyate. Ramante yogino nante, one who gives pleasure, one who gives joy. Right? So devotees who are engaged in Krishna service, Ramante, this word Ramante is again used in 10.9. In 10.9, right? Where Katyanta cha mamnityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha, ramante, pure joy, right? So we are serving Krishna, one is in pure joy by serving Krishna, by engaging in devotional service. And so here Prabhupada, this talk, one of the reasons Prabhupada mentioned here, living being as constitution but feminine by nature, is that if you go to the verse, he says, Ka vir Prabhupada say, the question is being raised, Ka virameta tatpada chalapi. Who will live such? Who will live such the lotus feet, such a lotus feet of the Lord once you've taken shelter? Who will live? A rhetorical question. Which intelligent person would live? If someone lives, it's a fool. Which intelligent person? And to give a very strong, to make it more authentic or to make it more concrete, the example of Shrir is given, because Mother Jasmi being so chanchala, if she does not move anywhere else, she is fixed on the feet of the Lord. What about us? How can we give up? No question is there. There's no question, right? If Mother Lakshmi, who by nature is chanchala, if she is fixed on the feet of the Lord, what about us? So such a very strong example is given to indicate how attractive the lotus feet of the Lord is. Similarly, if in Bhagavatam many places we'll see that example of Indra is given. Oh, Indra did this, Indra did that, Indra did this nonsense, did this, that, blah, blah, blah. So many things we'll hear. And it's as if we think that this is what all Indra does. He keeps doing mischief, nonsense things. No. The reason Indra's example is always given is to show that Indra is not an ordinary living entity. The king of Devatas, and that position is obtained only by being favored by Krishna. It's not a normal position of Indra, right? If that Indra can be tempted, can be do all so many bad activities or vices, whatever, right? Then what about us? We are so vulnerable. Such a person as great as Indra can be tempted, can do things like this. And what to speak of us? We are definitely vulnerable. We have to be more cautious. That is the reason in that example I've been given, right? We just get a few glimpses of what Indra does in this, but there is a lot more thing which can't be mentioned, right? So here the example of Mother Lakshmi is given so as to show that how attractive lotus feet of Krishna is, how attractive is the service of Krishna. That she always engaged in the massaging lotus feet. That's how attractive. Navam, right? And so in Padyavali, there's a very beautiful verse which says that at the translation, "O Madhusudana, if a wise person takes to heart service to lotus feet, then any sins he may have committed are nullified. But if a so-called wise person rejects your service, he must suffer all sinful reactions, though he may have committed no sinful deed." Okay? How wonderful the service of Krishna, right? So, restlessness of our mind, if Mother Lakshmi, the restlessness of Mother Lakshmi can be pacified by being service of Krishna, the restlessness of our mind can be completely covered by taking shelter of Krishna. So one way to curb the restlessness of our mind, because mind is what? Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balabhadridam. Our mind is chanchalam. So to make it achala, if you take shelter of Krishna, lotus feet of Krishna, engage in devotion service, engage in service of Krishna along with his devotees, association of devotees, then that restless mind can be curbed. Just like Mother Lakshmi, who is Chanchala, she is pacified by taking shelter of Krishna. Right? So again here, the wonderful one aspect which I did not talk on much is that the love, the relationship between the queens of Dwarka and Krishna is not lust. Again, this mentioned in the 4th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila. There's no love, there's no lust in spiritual world. It's just pure love. Right? Let me see if we can define the quick before we end definition of lust. You see yes, see, the love of the gopis is called Ruda Bhava, is pure, spotless. It does not any moment have lust. Right? Lust and love have different characteristics, just as iron and gold have different natures. The definition of lust and love. The desire to gratify one's own senses is kama, but the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna is prema. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses, but the love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and it is very powerful. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, love is like the bright sun. Right? This not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love, and similarly for the love of the queens of Dwarka. The relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. We dress, we beautify ourselves, so we can feel good when others look, oh, you look nice. Oh, thank you so much. We want appreciation from others. But the gopis, the queens of Dwarka, they dress beautifully, they dress nicely because they know that Krishna becomes happy if you do that. That is the only reason. If some Krishna comes and says, oh, I feel very happy if I don't do makeup, don't do this, perfect, we won't do anything. That is fully surrendered to Krishna. Their nature of is love, it's not lust. So at this point in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when Shri Rupa Goswami starts narrating Madhurya Ras, at the very start he says, "This not able. I will not be able to describe it properly. No one can describe it because we can't even think, imagine rather. How is not lust? That the activities are pretty much the same or very similar. How is that not lust? We can't wrap our head around it. There's something beyond the scope of this tiny 1.5 kilograms of mass in the head, right, which cannot wrap around. Right? So we should try our best to make the understanding concrete that the relationship with Krishna and his consorts are nothing, not even remotely 0.10 to the power infinity, what minus infinity percent same or similar to what we have in this material world. Absolutely spotless. Jai, thank you so much. Please forgive me if there are any mistakes. Kindly please give your feedback, corrections. If at all, if you feel anything good came out of it, it's all the mercy of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. If at all any mistakes have been made, it's all my mistakes. So please, I'm here to be corrected. Thank you so much. Nitaraj Bhagavatam ki jai. Divine Grace, Eksi Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Narottama Vilas Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu. The verse itself is very, very sweet to us, and you have explained it. Your actually explanations are added sweetness to the verse, Prabhu. Thank you so much for wonderful explanations, Prabhu. I thoroughly relished it, enjoyed it, Prabhu. Actually, attachment to the lotus feet of the Krishna is how important it is very, very nicely explained, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful explanations, Prabhu. I have a small question, Prabhu, if you can permit me to ask.
I will try my best, Mataji.
So, Prabhuji, actually, initially you were speaking about the Krishna's concerts, right? Gopis, goddesses of fortune, and Dwarka queens. So, so if I have understood correctly, I'm little confused about that. Who are actually bodily expansions and who are, expansions and who are reflections? Could you please?
Yes, Mataji. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, is the partial expansion of Srimati Radharani. The queens of Dwarka are reflections, and the gopis are her bodily expansions, which she expands.
So gopis are bodily expansions of Srimati Radharani.
Yes, all the gopis. Yes.
And goddesses of fortunes are partial expansions of the Radharani only.
Yes, all sources. So if you see in verse, which verse number Adi Lila, chapter number 4, verse number 75, Shri Radhika Hoite Kanta Ganera Vistar. All these consorts, they all proceed from Shri Radhika. That's mentioned.
Yes, Prabhu. So that is 417, right?
475. Adi Lila, chapter 4, 75th verse.
Yes, Prabhu. But the reason, the point what I'm not able to understand is that Dwaraka queens are reflections, right?
Yes.
Reflections. So what exactly reflection means, Prabhu? Expansion, I can understand. But reflection, because my question is, see, when Radharani and Chandravali, they came as Satyabhama and Rukmini, right? So that is reflection is a shadow kind of thing. You have given a very good example, of course, the tree, what we can see in the river, it shows the upside down, right? Okay. That is what I understand is reflection. But here, what exactly is reflection? Could you please?
Reflection is the same counterpart, you could say. So that is for the same counterpart. So Radharani as the 16,108 Braj Gopis in Vrindavan, that's 16,108 queens of Dwarka. Same counterpart. Same counterpart.
Same personality. It's a kind of
different mood. Counterpart but different mood.
And the same personality with different mood, basically.
The same person with different mood. Yes, same person with different mood. That's why Rukmini is none other than Chandravali. Right? Chandravali is called as rightist mood. Or is called very mild Swabhav. If the Krishna becomes upset, and they will say, "Oh no, what happened? So I'm sorry." Right? And the same mood with Rukmini. Mother Rukmini will never say anything against. Will never say, will not talk back. Right? Mother Radharani is Vambi Bhav, leftist mentality. Hey, what do you do? Shabbat Krishna says, she'll come like, as Lalita Vishakha, right? Become very strong. It's called Vambi Bhav, leftist. That's Satyabhama. So reflections, like, counterpart. If you put a mirror, something like, see two people, origin is here, reflection is here.
Okay.
This
So,
time.
so Prabhu, in that case, I'm just trying to understand between the reflections and expansions. You know, reflections I understand now. So expansions means it's not it won't be the same mood. Like goddesses of fortunes are expansions of Radhika. So, how do we understand
So,
that?
Mati, so the goddess, the Braja Gopis, as mentioned, that 16,108 gopis in Vrindavan are reflections. The reflections are the queens of Dwarka.
Okay.
But those gopis are expansions of Radhika first, and then reflections came.
Okay.
So they are first body, rather expanded first
Right.
as the gopis for Krishna Rasa, and then reflection is the queens of Dwarka. Just giving, showing, so to say, showing in Rasa the hierarchy, couldn't say, how topmost that Mother Radhika Rani has expanded from herself as to expand the Rasa. In 77th verse, Krishna says, the 78th verse, that her expansions are the instrument for expanding Rasa. So, and it's that Shri Radharani has expanded herself with different attributes. All the gopis are different attributes. And then they were reflected as Queen Dwarka, which are different moods. So the source is Shri Radharani, and the expansion is the Braja Gopis, and then reflection of all the Braja Gopis is in Dwarka. So I can do it again, sequence.
These goddesses of fortune, what we are talking now, those are same as gopis in the concerts of Dwaraka. Or there is something different.
No. Different. Goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, means Lakshmi Devi.
Yeah, Lakshmi Devi. That we see in Brahma Samhita, Chinta Mani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa
Yes,
Vrusho.
that Lakshmi Devi is mentioned that so Lakshmi Devi doesn't have current entrance into Golok Vrindavan. So the Lakshmi Devi there actually means gopis. The gopis are non-different than Lakshmi Devi in the sense they are as opulent as Lakshmi Devi. The gopis, if you see in translation of Brahma Samhita, you will see the Braj gopis. When the Lakshmi says Lakshmi Sahasra Shara Sambhava Sevimanam, Lakshmi actually refers to the gopis of Vrindavan, not Mother Lakshmi. But Lakshmi doesn't get entry into Vrindavan. That's why in Belavan, sorry, Mati.
So in the Chintamani Prakara Sadma Shubhas mentioned as goddesses of fortune, they are gopis only.
They're gopis. They're not Lakshmi. But they are the opulence of the gopis are not different than Lakshmi Devi. That is why they're Lakshmi.
Okay, only
That
opulence.
is why they're Lakshmi Devi. Yeah, that is same opulence. So that's in Belavan, if you think Vrindavan, Belavan, Mother Lakshmi is sitting there doing tapasya. So
Yes,
Mother
correct.
Lakshmi is like every time like this, everywhere, but she's like this there. She wants to enter the past tense.
So sorry, Prabhu, taking too much time, but gopis are innumerable. Never countless gopis are there. Ananta, unlimited. But goddesses of fortune, I think only one Prabhu, Lakshmi Devi.
There's many Vaikuntha planets, Mataji say. Many
Yes,
Vaikuntha
correct.
planets, right? In that sense, Lakshmi Devi is
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very nice, Prabhu.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Madi, if you just let me share my screen. Brahma Samhita translation.
Sure.
Share here. Lakshmi Sahasrita Sambhama Sevimanam. Right? Always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
Yeah.
In Vrindavan, there are Gopis. And other Vaikuntha planet is there are Lakshmis.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other corrections?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a very nice class.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Always a pleasure to listen the glories of Lord Krishna from you. You're so absorbed in Lord Krishna's rupa and his pastimes. But the way you glorify his rupa, his paraphernalia is very, very sweet.
Very kind, Prabhu.
It's always a pleasure to hear the minute details of the Lord's very minute actions, even the Damodar Katha that you used to do, how Krishna would wake up and like little details like his bed sheet and the wind was just very enchanting. You have definitely been blessed with a lot of love and appreciation and rasa for these aspects. Thank you so much. Thank you. I wish in some lifetime I can get that.
You're very kind. We already have that. Thank you so much. You're very kind. Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada. Are there any other corrections or feedback you would like to give?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the nice, thorough lecture. Dhanraj Prabhu also thanked you.
Thank you,
for
Dhanraj Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you, Dhanraj.
points. So I think because of timing, we can go ahead and end.
Sure,
That's
Prabhu.
Thank you for your continued service and your
Thank
absorption.
you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ananta Shri Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Shri Namo Namaha. See you all.